This is really, really exciting, and not only for me, but I guess Andrew Lloyd Webber can't have that many ambitions left in life to fulfill, but one of them is definitely to do one of his shows at the Sydney Opera House, and there never has been one, and this is going to be the first, and it's the first Tim Rice and Andrew Lloyd Webber musical ever to have been at Sydney Opera House, which is pretty incredible. And the fact that it's Evita, I think, is entirely appropriate. A show that opened in 1978 in London, and after 8 years and nearly 4,000 performances. It opened on Broadway in '79 and ran 4 years, nearly 2,000 performances. It won multiple Tony Awards, 7. It won 2 Olivier Awards. The movie won an Oscar, and discovered stars such as Elaine Paige, Joss Ackland, Patti LuPone, Mandy Patinkin, and not to mention Jonathan Pryce and Antonio Banderas, and one lady called Madonna out of the movie. So a phenomenal success story is Evita, one that has played many countries over the years. But Andrew and Tim have always been resolute that the best production of Evita that there has ever been is this original production. And where I think we're really honoured here is to have the original creative team, Hal Prince, 20 Tony Awards, most in history ever, Larry Fuller, the choreographer, and Tim O'Brien, the designer, recreating their original work for the first time ever since it was done way back in 1978, to have the original iconic production of Evita opening here at the Sydney Opera House. Quite fantastic, unique occasion, very special indeed.
Definitely.
One of the reasons, and possibly the only reason, that this original production is done so infrequently and hasn't been done here since it was originally, I think, in the 80s, wasn't it, John?
It was done. It was done in the 80s. Yeah.
Is that this role, this leading role of Eva Peron, and particularly the sing of that role, is so unique and so difficult that it takes a very special person, an artist, not only to be found, not only to be available, not only to be able to want to be doing it, but to get past the approval of Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice. And I've got to tell you, as I've had to be approved as a producer many times, it's really difficult approval to get. But this is one artist that Andrew and Tim had worked with before and specifically asked if we three could get to do the show here at the Sydney Opera House. And I'm thrilled to say that we have, and we three now, in unison, together, are going to introduce the star of Evita to play Eva Peron at the Sydney Opera House. Is gentlemen, 1, 2, 3, Tina Arena.
Well,
welcome.
Thank you.
At last we've got you back on stage in a musical.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It has.
Well, I think the last time that you performed in a musical, if I'm right in saying, was in my hometown.
Certainly
which was in the musical Chicago in London, correct?
Correct, playing Roxy Hart.
Playing Roxy Hart.
Yeah,
a bit of a different role, this one, isn't it? I think this one goes a little higher.
Just a little bit higher.
How do you feel about being back in musical theatre after 10 years?
Really excited. I think that for anybody to be offered the role of such an extraordinary personnage, as we say, is something that's going to not be easy to live up to, but I also think that it's an incredible story and perhaps an incredibly appropriate time in today's day and age to recount that story. And I feel really privileged to be able to do it. I know that there are varying reports and feelings about Eva Peron and what she did, what she contributed, what people think she didn't contribute. But I just think that I'm ready to explore, and I feel that I'm perhaps now emotionally ready to be able to take something like that on. I really don't think that I would have been ready for it before, but nearly 50, and I think I'm ready to do it, and I'm embracive of that role, and I can't wait, because I think she's quite an extraordinary character. So I feel very privileged, really privileged.
David mentioned it's a monster of a role. And frankly, I can't think of anyone else who could sing it. And do you want to talk a little bit about your preparation and how difficult this role is?
Well, I'm terrified, so I'm not. So I'm certainly not gonna lie to anybody about it. It's terrifying because there's, as I said, there's an exquisiteness in that character that I really want to hopefully be able to bring to the stage. There's a lot I don't know. There's a lot that I'm going to discover as I go along. I think that anybody that has to try to live up to something like that is obviously going to feel a great sense of vulnerability. I also know that it's a phenomenal commitment, not only from myself, but from my family's perspective, because my family have to be with me all the way, because I live and breathe Eva Peron during that time. And that's a lot to ask of your family, to be able to live with that. So I think that it's with their blessing and their love that I'll be able to.
Rumour has it she wasn't easy to live with, so they
Well,
should be warned.
You might want to ask my partner if there's perhaps a resemblance in those in the characters. I don't know. It's a precious gift for myself, and I think for any female performer, when roles are very rare and those kinds of levels are really rare these days. So how am I going to prepare? I try not to freak out about it, and just get on with what it is that I do, and hopefully move forwards in grace. That's all.
And Tina, you're going to be in great hands with Hal Prince too. I think that's
I know,
very
I'm
exciting.
so excited.
You know, for that great man to come out here to do this with you, I think will be terrific. And I know that he will be looking after you all the way through.
Yeah. I feel blessed to be able to work with somebody who's had the kind of career that Hal Prince has certainly had and is still having. And the fact that I get to work with a man like that is a real privilege for me, because I feel like there is so much that I'm going to learn. And for me, I think the reason why I've been able to withstand 40 years is the fact that I have continued to challenge myself, because I need stimulation. I need to feel like I'm starting again every time, because that's when I feel that I'm doing my best work. I never walk into anything feeling incredibly confident. I feel vulnerable, and that's okay. And once I learnt that that was okay, it was like, well, here we go. Hal and I will be holding hands, and it'll be hopefully, somewhat of a walk in the park, but probably not.